And it was really nice to hear you talk about ideas about the voice. And it made me think about Sukarno's idea that he was the mouthpiece of the people, that he was a kind of tongue and a kind of instrument, and that there was this equation of the republic with the voice itself, and that the foundation of independence required this kind of necessary intermediary, which is the voice. And I'm thankful also because the invitation to attend today has made me think about things like voices and sounds in ways that I never really do. It's not really the kind of stuff that I work on. So it's been a really difficult provocation, actually, to try to figure out how it is that the things that I think about could say something about the kinds of questions that Kunchi's asking about the voice. So I mainly work on the relationship between nature and culture. And I do a lot of that work through sites like volcanoes and landslides. And I'm particularly interested in nature does what people don't expect it to do. And I'm as well interested in how it is that we demarcate what is nature and culture, and how that demarcation is always a political act and an act of governance. That it's always simultaneously a way to say what is political and what is not political, who gets to be involved in politics, who gets to be excluded from politics, by making that line, that distinction between what is nature and what is culture. So in moments when nature is volatile or vulnerable, like volcanoes, like this volcano here in Jogja, is when questions of governance, questions of the line between nature and culture get really messy and really complicated. So in pursuing these kinds of questions, I spent a lot of time in this volcano observatory on the right, which this tower is transmitting signals from the top of the volcano to that observatory, where there are scientists monitoring the volcano. Now, in the observatory, there is an archive. In the archive are things like this, seismographs. Now, what seismographs do, as you probably know, is read tremors in the earth. There's also books, there's periodicals, there's photographs from colonial period scientists who worked here, who established the observatory, up until present day expedition results and diaries from contemporary local and international scientists. One of the things that is not in the library, however, is a sound archive. There are no sounds in the library. So the provocation to think about the relationship between archives and sound got me thinking about why it is that there's no sound in the archive. There's no sounds of the volcano. There's no whizzing or wheezing or heezing. Heezing, that's not a word. Whizzing, wheezing, wheezing. I already said it, just hissing or wheezing. There are, however, traces of sounds within the archive. There are descriptions by scientists of the different kinds of sounds associated with volcanic eruptions. And there is also a very modest attempt by scientists to make gestures to the Javanese complex vocabulary for the sounds related to volcanic activity. So this became particularly compelling to me, that Javanese language has a very complex, multifaceted way to talk about the different kinds of sounds associated with volcanic activity, from that would describe, for instance, the different sound between a landslide that was full of large boulders and a landslide full of very small boulders, to the different sounds of, say, pyroclastic flow, which are these massive clouds that erupt over the side of the volcano. All of this nuance is in fact written out of the archive because of modern science's quest to find what's the word that I'm looking for? Standardization. To be able to scale up beyond an individual volcano to reach a kind of universal language. So that the Javanese complex vocabulary for the sounds of the volcano needed to be excluded within the modern scientific project of creating a universal language for all volcanoes. And that's really the point that I want to make about, and this comes back to earlier points that were made in the first session, about how it is that archives, museums, are forms of ordering that in their work do that I think that we need to attend to these very processes of ordering in order to raise the voices that have been excluded by that ordering. And that's actually all that I have to say. Yeah.